Hi friends, today I want to show you a technique that's going to help you in a lot of different situations. This will help with variables, with complex numbers, and then also with square roots. So it's called the heart method, and I think you'll see why. First, let's look at our example up here. I have 4 minus 6x on the top of the fraction and a 2 on the bottom of the fraction. Now I'm going to tell you what a lot of students are tempted to do in this situation. Don't do it. But what they're tempted to do is to look at that 4 and 2 on the front, cancel them, and call it good. So I'm not even going to do it because I don't want you to see that. But that is what a lot of people are tempted to do. But the thing is, it neglects this 6x over here, which is also divided by 2. Now, I want you to notice that the shape of this fraction is kind of like a heart. And I'm going to draw a heart around it. All right, I have 2 things on the top of the fraction and 1 on the bottom. And when you see that shape, I want you to remember that all 3 reduce together. And that's super important because this is a mistake that is so easy to make, and it shows up over and over in college algebra. So when I look at that 4, that's 6 and the 2, I want to ask myself, what is the GCF of 4, 6, and 2? Meaning, what number divides all 3 of them because they all reduce together? Well, it's 2, right? So that tells me I'm going to divide all of them by 2. So I'm going to rewrite this because I kind of have a mess going on right now. So 4 minus 6x over 2. And it's all in a heart because that's the shape. And I'm going to divide each one by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. This allows me to rewrite this expression as 2 minus 3x divided by 1. I'm not going to write that part, but we know it's there. We just don't have to write it. So we have done the division. We didn't neglect our 6x, and we have a correct answer of 2 minus 3x. You'll see this in many different forms. One way that you might see it is if you had a square root on top. So let's say I had on the top of the fraction 10 plus 4 square root of 2, whole thing divided by 4. Again, notice that you have a heart shape on that fraction, and that's going to remind you that all 3 of those pieces of the fraction reduce together. Now in my previous example, I had an x. Now I have a square root of 2 in that same position, but here's the important thing. I have 2 things that are not like terms on top. They cannot be combined together. All right, so my greatest common factor of 10, 4, and 4, my GCF would be 2. So I'm going to divide each of those pieces by 2. 10 divided by 2 would be 5. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And the 4 in the denominator divided by 2 is also 2. So I could rewrite this as 5 plus 2 square root of 2 all over 2. Okay? Let's look at another way that we could see it, and that is when we have an I. So let's say that I had negative 6 plus 2i all divided by 2. again, we see that heart shape. And we know that all three of these numbers are going to reduce together. So my GCF in this situation is going to be 2. So when I divide -6 by 2, I get -3. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I could rewrite this as -3 plus I, all divided by 1, which we know is there, but we don't have to write it. Okay? Now, this does show up quite often. I want to look at one other application of this. Especially, we use this with the i's. So, let's say that we had 5 minus 3i over 12. So I would notice, hey, I've got a heart shape. And then I look at 5, 3, and 12, and they don't have a GCF. Let me show you another thing that we can do using this same heart shape. So we want to remember, using the heart, that each of these numbers is divided by that 12. So another way I can look at this is that 5 and 12 get divided. So I could rewrite this as 5 over 12. And then 3i and 12 also get divided. So I could rewrite 5 minus 3i over 12 as 5 over 12 minus 3i over 12. And this is helpful because they didn't have a greatest common factor, but when I separate it this way, I can rewrite 3/12 as 1/4. So this would be 5/12 minus 1/4 I. Okay. Let's try one more like that. All right, here I have 2 minus I over 6. I notice that that heart shape is present, which reminds me that everything must reduce together. So let's see, 2, that's a 1, minus 1, I, and then a 6. There's no greatest common factor. So that means I'm going to rewrite it using that heart shape, but we're going to split it into 2. So I would have 2 over 6. And then minus I over 6. I could then go back and notice that 2 over 6, 2 and 6 have a common factor of 2, so it can be rewritten as 1/3. So I'm going to write down my answer as 1/3 minus I over 6. And like I did above, often in these situations where we have a fraction in front of the I, we pull the I down front. So instead of 1/3 minus I over 6, I'm going to rewrite this as 1/3 minus 1/6 I. So that is the final answer that I would want to give in standard form. All right, so when you see that shape of a heart, you want to remember that it's all going to reduce together. And we will see this again when we talk about the quadratic formula. It becomes especially important then, and so we will revisit this method then.